last of the 3 writing awards that we have left over is a new award, the Improvement in a Division. This is kind of like Improvement in a Superstar, but this time it's which of those championship sections that we have, and a couple other ones too. We have the the Legends, and we have Developmental, and there's a couple little choices that we have. But what do you think was the worst division this year? It went from high up to really just a piece of shit.
I'd say the Intercontinental. They cared. Like when Cody held it a year ago? Where he brought the white strap back, and he brought prestige to it, and it kind of took a dip, and then it picked back up again when Barrett picked it back up, because he was going with the whole, I'm bringing prestige back to it, and then the one-day turnover with The Miz, and then it went to Curtis Axel, and then Curtis Axel became a lackey for Paul Heyman, and it's just like nobody cares anymore. And now it's on Big E Langston, so it looks like it keeps taking this roller coaster of, yeah, it matters, it doesn't matter. It matters, it doesn't. Same with the U.S. title. Dean Ambrose, it mattered when he won it, and now you kind of forget that he carries it around.
Yeah.
So those two, but Intercontinental the most, is probably taking a dip.
World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, they made that absolutely meaningless.
This year started off with Big Show having an 8-day title reign for this year, technically. I mean, he had it going into from 2012, so that counts. It wasn't an actual 8-day title reign, but he randomly loses it to Alberto Del Rio, who turns babyface and fails at being a babyface. They have a stupid feud. In theory, I mean, it could have been really good with Jack Swagger, but they just kind of dropped the ball with that, and it's partially Del Rio's fault, partially Jack Swagger's fault.
Weed.
Yeah. So that puts a damper on it. He drops it to Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler could have gone great with this, and bang, he gets hit with a concussion. We actually had a pay-per-view this year that didn't even have the World Heavyweight Championship match because they needed to have a number 1 contenders match to stall for that. And what happens when he comes back? They just give it to Del Rio again. So we just start back over. Del Rio continues having these pointless feuds with people, and it gets nowhere, to the point where it was such a bad year for the World Heavyweight Championship, they got rid of the fucking title.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that you have a shit year, and this is why Del Rio sucks so bad, because he should have made it halfway decent at the very least. But a whole year Del Rio was enough to just kill an entire championship.
Yeah.
So
one that had meaning back when it was the Raw title.
The second most important title in the entire company, and it got to such a bad level that it doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Such a shame. Best improvement in a division.
The best improvement has to be the tag team. They always say each year they're going to rebuild it. This year I felt like they did. With the Shield, the Wyatts, Goldust and Cody, Sandow and Cody, Usos, they're actually having teams, which is phenomenal to me. So, I mean, kudos.
Tag team division as well. Just like Dace is saying, it's, we went from, in 2012, before we had Team Hell No come onto the scene, tag team division was awful. And now, if you're in a tag team, that's not a bad thing anymore. No. You can be in a tag team right now and be at the forefront of stuff. The Shield, for the longest time, they had these tag team titles, and they made them, and it's such an important kind of thing. We had Team Hell No, which I mentioned before. We had, you said, the Usos. We had Cody Rhodes and Goldust. Primetime players aren't really doing that great right now, but at one point they looked really strong.
The Matadors.
Los Matadores are an interesting enough tag team, and even if they just end up being jobbers, they're jobbers. 3MB, jobbers, but you need jobbers every once in a while. And, this is such a good time for the tag team division. And
they're stealing pay-per-views. Some of the matches of the night go to the tag team division, especially with Cody and Goldust lately.
Right.
So,
awesome job, tag team division. What are the best and the worst TV show or program, necessarily? Anything that WWE produced in that kind of spectacle that isn't a pay-per-view of the year. The worst? What do you think?
The worst? It's got to go to, main event. It's basically Sunday Night Heat again, but they put it on a Wednesday, and it's on a channel I can never find. Even though they say, hey, it's on IFC, right? No.
Ion?
Ion? See, I don't even know.
Oprah? Is it Oprah Network?
And I say I can't.
It's not on WWE Network.
I'm hating on the show, and my boy main events it all the time. It's just it feels like it's trying to be Sunday Night Heat, but on a Wednesday when it's not. It's just a terrible time slot.
When people are too busy listening to the Daceman Show.
To the Daceman Show on Mega Powers Radio, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
In a similar boat, Saturday Morning Slam, because as bad as Main Event and Superstars and whatever are, they didn't get canceled the way that Saturday Morning Slam did.
Yeah, that was just subtle, like, well, we don't really want you back. Saturday
Morning Slam also was stupid enough that they marketed it towards kids, which they are already a PG project, so product, so kind of don't see the point in that. But they made them. You get these wrestlers that don't really matter for the most part. I mean, it was like a big thing when Kofi Kingston would pop up, or it's like The Miz is going to wrestle a match here, you know. But when you have the Kurt Hawkins and stuff wrestling on this, nobody cares. And then on top of that, they limit their moveset. You can't do a headlock.
Yeah, don't hurt the guy.
Terrible show. Terrible show.
No punching.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best show of the year?
Raw. I feel like that'll win no matter what, because they put the most effort into it.
Yeah.
But I do like the pre-show concept they're doing. I do like the pre-show. They're trying to make it more sports oriented, so that's a good concept. I don't think it's the best, but that's a good concept. So
I didn't even think about adding the pre-show. If you want to vote for out there, vote for the pre-show too. I mean, I didn't add that to the list. I'll have to add that another time.
It's a good concept. I don't think it's the best, but it's something new that they're trying. So it's not the same shit every time.
I almost gave this to Total Divas.
Well, yeah, I
almost. I like that show more than I Want to Whip It, which is very sad. But I gave it to Raw because Raw is the only show that matters. If you watch nothing else but Raw, you get the point. Right. You watch a Raw on a pay-per-view, you've got the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, you miss SmackDown, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You miss Saturday Morning Slam, well, everybody does because it's canceled.
Yeah. You
miss Main Event, Superstars, NXT, none of that matters. Raw, you miss that, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, ever since they stopped doing the brand separation, and like when SmackDown had its own pay-per-view, if you didn't watch SmackDown, you didn't know what the hell was happening on the SmackDown pay-per-view.
Right.
That gave it meaning, but when they basically said, all right, well, the World Heavyweight Championship is now like our IC title, so it'll just be opening up Raw every day. It's like, all right.
Similar to the best and the worst TV show or program of the year, the best and the worst pay-per-view of the year. I think this is going to be a pretty easy one. What's the worst pay-per-view of the year?
Battleground. Don't watch it. I'd say watch it to see why we're shaking our heads. Just don't. That was kind of awful.
Two of the worst things happened of the entire year on this pay-per-view. Kali counting himself out when he gets pinned. Stupid as hell. 1, 2, 3. Are we ready?
That might have saved the show.
And the technical difficulties. It's pretty bad when your show sucks and it's almost as if the cable feed itself goes out because of how bad it is.
That was the one in Buffalo, right? Where the power went out in the stadium or something. Was that Buffalo? I don't remember.
I don't know. Whatever it was, WWE didn't do anything to fix it. So
the one before Night of Champions, right? Or what was Hell in a Cell? Whatever one was before it was giving refunds because of how bad they're like, oh, I don't care about the ending. Then why the hell did you even put it on? And then Survivor Series wasn't even that great. So I mean, like, you guys are fucking sucking in the fourth quarter.
It's really, really bad. All right, best pay-per-view of the year though, something that was actually kind of positive.
It's tough. TLC I thought was really good. Overall consistency. In the end, I'm probably gonna go with SummerSlam. I really enjoyed it. Punk, Lesnar, Bryan, Cena. I'm out.
I thought that this was a terrible pay-per-view, a year for pay-per-views. SummerSlam, they had their good parts, yeah. I could have given it to that. I ended up giving it to Money in the Bank. Mostly because everything had at least something interesting about it. They might not have all been fantastic matches or anything like that, but they were interesting enough. And at a pay-per-view year, which was as bad as this one is, interesting enough is good enough. That's all I gotta say for that. As bad as Battleground was, we didn't have anything that was as good on a positive, so...
Mania had a nostalgic factor since we were all there, but...
For what?
Mania? We were all there, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah. But then again, it also had that disappointment that it was like, you know, we tried to do the whole spectacle, the whole thing. They don't even have any pyro or anything. So that was a letdown.
Yeah.